AVC, how you doing? It's Gordon. I Dig Vinyl. I'm going to do a quick video focusing on a specific record label. Following on from one I did about a month ago now. It was all about Creation Records. Really enjoyed taking a bit of a dive into the output of a particular label. That one, such a brilliant source of indie music from the 80s. And I wanted to find something similar to go and explore. So what I'm going to do now is talk about another label that has caught my interest recently. A seriously hot label filled with burningly great records that hopefully will spark your interest too. Ouch, that label being Fire Records. So watch out, there might be some other bad puns in the course of this, but I wanted to share 5 records that I have recently acquired. 5 records that I have really enjoyed listening to recently. Lots of new bands for me, and amongst this, one of them being a compilation. So lots of new bands, all coming out of this melting pot of the 1980s in terms of sort of post-punky, new wave, jangly indie music. So I hope you enjoy. I hope you maybe hear of one or two things that might catch your interest as well. I'd be interested to know if you have any recommendations from the Fire Records label too. But I'm just going to crack through and show what I've picked up, what I've been listening to. Really enjoyed it. Opened my eyes a wee bit to some more great music. So all of the records I'm going to show are on Fire Records. One of the ones, if you fall all the way through to the end, is both on fire but not on fire. What could that possibly mean? You can fast forward to the end if you want to see that one. But here we go. So I'm going to start off with an absolutely brilliant compilation. So it's called The Great Fire of London, and I've discovered recently, trying to get into sort of new music from different sources, it's been quite a good idea to sometimes seek out a compilation that a label would put out, quite early on in their kind of their production career, so to speak. So for example, there's some brilliant Creation Records compilations that were sent out quite early in the sort of 1985, that kind of thing, that show off they show off the depth and breadth of the bands that they are working with, which would have been probably released just on 7-inch single at the time. So similar idea here is this the Great Fire of London comp, which has got a really lovely blend of artists that were all operating from Fire Records in the early days. So what I'll do is I'll hold that up, you can have a wee look at it. You can see the depth and breadth here. So depth and breadth, Fire Records, I'll keep it while I'm speaking about it a little bit. Fire Records, founded in 1985. Two chaps started off the label, one being a guy that came down from Scotland, bit of a music journalist, I think. Interesting sort of home for artists who didn't quite fit anywhere else. Now pick out one as a good example over here. You have Pulp. So the very early incarnations of Pulp, their first single releases can be found on Fire, and this is a particularly good one. The song is called Little Girl. Really great. So that's from 85. It was released back then. They didn't go on to any particular success on Fire Records, and it wasn't until they moved to, I think, one of the bigger labels around about 1990 that everything kind of went big. But I've read about that, and it's quite interesting. You get some quotes from the band about Fire. Some of the quotes can be quite negative in terms of they felt the label maybe didn't promote their work as well as they could, or maybe certain releases were delayed beyond the point where they should have gone out. But I also read some stuff from members of the band saying that Fire were the only label that took any interest in them back then. So it's the two sides to that. So Pulp are here. Other bands that I certainly knew about Pulp, but most of the bands here I didn't know about at all. Thousand Mexicans. I'm going to talk about them in a little minute. That's the first record, the first album that was released on Fire. Really cool. Kind of three-piece. Colenso Parade. Again, interesting sort of indie blend of almost sounds like some of the kind of 1950s doo-wop vibe to it. Really cool. I like the Blue Aeroplanes. Who else is really good? Lives of Angels. Tremendous. Didn't seem to amount to very much, but another brilliant listen. Couple of Close Lobsters songs here. One of them was previously unreleased, so I really love that. I think it's a great wee comp. It takes you through an interesting blend of artists. Also enjoy the Royal Assassins, really quite different, quite dark. So there's a real blend of music here. Rose of Avalanche, another one I'll talk about a bit more in a minute, a Leeds band. All good. I picked this up really cheap, so this is something that's a bit new to me, is to seek out a comp from a record label that sort of shows that depth and breadth. So these are all the sort of single releases, A-sides, I think. Some A-sides and B-sides, quite a cool inner as well. Sort of showing some of the stuff on the roster on, there you go, on Fire. Okay, so that's my starter point. So then to go from there, picked up Thousand Mexicans, and their first, I think they might have released 2 albums, but I think they may have been quite a long way in between in terms of time. So this is their debut album, released in '85, and it was the first release on Fire Records. So it's called Dance Like Ammunition. It's a cool record. Kind of electro, I would say. It's got a post-punk, quite gloomy, but in a good way. Don't mind a bit of gloom. And a kind of Depeche Mode-ish kind of gloomy, gloriously gloomy. Bit of Joy Division, bit part Depeche Mode. There's some awesome trumpet playing here. Cuts across a jaggy guitar sounds, echoing vocals. So yeah, really, really good. It's a few great tracks here. Pick out a few noted down. Forever in Darkness is the opening track. It's a kind of upbeat sort of banger of a track. Diving for Pearls, another really catchy tune. I think that's the one that's on the comp. So that was a single, and one of I think probably my favourite is the one where this line "Dance Like Ammunition" comes from, which isn't actually called Dance Like Ammunition, but it's a tremendously cool song that's called Dead Language. So really, really good band. The first album released on Fire Records. I picked it up recently for a tenner on Discogs. Was pretty happy with it. It's in very, really strong all-round condition. So yeah, that's a new one for me. Another band that is on the on that compilation that I enjoyed listening to and then sought out a wee bit more. Here is a 12-inch. It's a 12-inch compilation EP, if you like. So it's a combination of 2 different releases, which were called Velveteen and I think it's Just Like Yesterday. In fact, no, that's the other one. So this is a combination of 2 12-inches. Rose of Avalanche, Leeds band. This is from 1987. Both pretty strong. 12 inches here. The song here, Velveteen, I think I'd maybe heard it before. It's pretty catchy. Influences kind of psych rock stuff, I would say. They've been compared to or considered to be influenced by The Doors. Don't hear too much of that coming through. Certainly for me, there's an interesting brew of the likes of early Simple Minds, bands like Theatre of Hate, The Mission, the song Too Many Castles in the Sky. Sometimes the singing recalls Lou Reed, so there's a bit of a Velvet Underground influence for sure. And a band that I picked, one of the first records I picked up when I started to get back into buying vinyl. It was by the band Concrete Blonde. and I haven't really explored them too much since, but quite like that sort of rocky vibe, and some of this reminds me of Concrete Blonde as well. So it's that big blend of um of those types of influences. That's what you're going to get with a band like Rose of Avalanche. So I do enjoy that. I would say compared to the Creation roster that I was looking at last time, pretty different, bit more gothic. I would say, but equally good. On the other hand, this band coming up now, Close Lobsters, with their debut album Foxhead Stalk the Land. This could have easily come straight out the Creation roster, because it's absolutely sparkling, shimmering, gloriously great, catchy, jangly indie. It's just brilliant. Really right up my street. So an amazing band for me. I kind of question why they didn't maybe go on to greater success, because this album was filled with really catchy, musically successful songs. Shimmering, jangling, chiming. It's a great debut album. It was they went on to release another two on Fire Records. Then they actually put out a fourth album in 2020. Close Lobsters are a band from not that far away from me, the town I'm in. They're from the town of Paisley. Really well crafted. It's indie pop, sometimes reminiscent of stuff like the Smiths, the Cure, even the kind of chimey, jangly The Church, I would say. Absolutely great album, all things considered. And they were a kind of stalwart of the Fire Records roster right at the very beginning, and I do wonder why they didn't go on to greater things. I think they've got a quite a good profile, if you like, across the world, but not to the level I think they maybe deserved. Maybe they were just a bit too late releasing this in 1987. The final song, Mother of God, is different to everything else that's on it. As I said, this is filled with really catchy, jangly indie stuff, loads of great ones, but the last one to me is really interesting to listen, because it's kind of more droney, proto shoegaze. It's a cracker. It's an extended jam. It's about 8 minutes long. Single chord kind of thing. So it sounds a bit different, sort of almost bringing in a new era of music to come. I haven't checked out anything beyond this particular album, plus some of the singles, so I don't know how much their sound evolved, but Foxhead's Stalk This Land, one of my favourite albums that I've picked up this year for sure. Okay, so Fire Records, one of the cool things about them, I think they're in a second iteration now, and a lot of the things that they do really well as a record label now are about re-releases, so stuff that I couldn't afford to buy, unless I looked at some of the kind of re-releases that they put out, or reissues, sorry, that would have initially been on a different label. There's some great stuff there, so I've got one over here that I actually showed in my last video. It was because of the hat. So we've got the lovely bowler hat there by Patrick McNee's got on the front cover of this brilliant Television Personalities album, which is their debut, and don't the kids just love it. Now the debut was not released on Fire Records back in 1981. I'm not sure quite who released this initially, but this was reissued in 1990 by Fire Records, and then has been reissued several times beyond that. This one here, I picked up for just show you if I can. It's actually a wee bit of kind of what appears to be Alan McGee's diary here. Alan McGee of Creation Records, of course, who very famously completely loves the Television Personalities, and they went on to really influence Creation Records. Some of the guys went on to be part of Creation Records, so we've got it in this kind of cool marble effect thing, because this was released for Record Store Day, I think it was 2017. The original the original album would be way out my price range. So I like the fact that Fire Records release or reissue things like this, reissued in limited edition, blah blah blah. It's an amazing debut. So nothing like the previous stuff I've shown. Such an influential band, but a band that I didn't know too much about until recently. So really pleased to, from my own perspective, to discover the TV personalities and start to learn a wee bit about their lead singer, main man Dan Tracy. What a magnificent observational songwriter. Hugely, for me, underappreciated. Probably fits the bracket of that of the sort of genius mould, I would say. A bit of a trailblazer. Certainly talking about Alan McGee and Creation, I think he's been quite clear that the TV personalities changed his life, made him realise he could start his own label, because I think this has actually been possibly initially issued on their own label. Sound here is very influenced by really cool sort of 1960s London mod stuff. Think about The Who, Ray Davies. I actually think a lot of it recalls the likes of All Mod Con's Jam as well. All good for me. Big influence on people like Kurt Cobain. Apparently tracked him down in '91, asked him to open for Nirvana. I don't know if it actually went ahead. Known to be a big influence on the likes of Half Man, Half Biscuit, Jesus and Mary Chain, Pavement, MGMT, The Pastels. Hugely influential then on music through the 80s and beyond, and I was delighted to pick it up, and I could only pick this up probably because it's on Fire Records, so thank you to Fire Records for making that happen. So there you go, there's 5, all on Fire, all on the label Fire, which still goes on today, and I thought I'd just finish with a silly one. I started with some bad puns, and I tried to match them together, and I wanted to ignite a bit of interest there. Oops. So this one's on fire and it's not on fire. Sorry. It's on fire, Galaxy 500, but it's not on Fire Records. Sorry, I'm just going to stop there.